gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode of the WeSurf podcast. This is episode 8, which is brought to you by the Swell Season Surf Radio. I'm your host for this one, Kwame LaBassiere. And on this one, we interview two female surfers, Berna and Beah, about their experiences in the surf community. They discuss how they got into surfing, the challenges they faced as beginners. The conversation also touches on the importance of etiquette in the lineup and the gray areas that exist surrounding who has the right of way, something I know which eludes many of us still. You know who you are. Additionally, they explore the unique experiences and perspectives about being female surfers in a predominantly male-dominated sport. The conversation touches on various topics related to surfing, including representation, the impact of surfing on their lives. They also get them to share some of their personal experiences in the water and how gender and ethnicity may have influenced those experiences. We also get them to discuss some positive changes that surfing has brought to their lives, as well as how you can incorporate surfing into a business, such as Berna has done with her surf-inspired clothing brand. Get them to share their favorite pre- and post-surf meals, as always, something we always ask from all of our guests. They speak about their favorite surf spots, and there's also some fun rapid-fire questions. Conversation concludes with a fun segment where they just answer some general questions that we pulled from Google about surfers and their habits. So sit back, relax, and hope you enjoy this one. Berna, let's start with you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Berna. I'm from Turkey. What
How
else?
long have you been surfing?
It's been 5 years, I think.
5 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And Beah, let's go with you.
Hi, I'm Beah, and I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, and moved to New York about 3 years ago now, and I started surfing last summer, so almost coming up on the year.
Oh, okay. So congratulations. All
Thank
right.
you.
So, you ladies know what this podcast is about. We speak with people from Black, Indigenous, people of color, and basically people who really won't who don't have their voice out in the surf world. So, I guess my first question would be, first question I ask all of our guests who are new to surfing rather. Why did you start surfing? Beah, let's start with you. What brought you to surfing? What made you think to yourself, oh, I want to become one of those crazy people out there in the water that spend all their time in wetsuits and with salty hair?
Absolutely. So, ever since I was a kid, I've always loved the water. And in Texas, you don't really have a lot of accessible bodies of water around you, just pools. And even then, I was in the summer always swimming around. But on vacation, if we ever traveled to a beach and there was an ocean, ever since I learned how to swim at such a young age, I was always in it. Um, in Texas, I grew up skateboarding a lot. So I feel like that kind of movement can go hand in hand and have the same kind of simulation. So finding out that I had Rockaway accessible and that I could learn to surf, it was like a no-brainer to me to try to get out there and learn. And the second I tried it, it was like the rest was history. So yeah.
And Berna, what about you? What made you decide that I'm going to grab a board and jump in the ocean and paddle out and ride it back to the ocean, ride it back to the sand and turn around and do this whole thing over again for 5 years?
Yeah. So same thing. I love being in water. And when I was in Turkey, I used to windsurf all the time. Then I moved to New York and I didn't know you could surf in New York. So
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to go to Jersey to windsurf, and it would take me about 4 hours one way. So it was 8 hours to go back and forth. And at some point, I gave up. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Right? I'd rather go to Turkey, which takes me 10 hours. So same thing almost. And then I was in school and we had a project in the Rockaways and I saw people surfing. I was so surprised. And after that, I thought, okay, I have to do this weekend. So I took a class and since then, I just love it.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that the 8 hours because I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine just yesterday, and we were speaking about that because he lives in Jersey, and he was telling me, "Oh, you never come to visit." I'm like, "Dude, you live in Jersey, Jersey. You don't live in like just across the bridge, Jersey.
Yeah.
You live like
It's an
in
easy
deep
visit.
Jersey, you know." I gotta actually pack up everything, tell people where I'm going to be, make sure there's gas in the car, make sure I have money just to come see you. So, but no, no, I can definitely relate with that. No, let's stay with you then. So, can you describe what your because you know that I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, but a surfer may forget their first wave, but they'll never forget the feeling of their first wave. Can you
Mhm.
describe what that feeling was like for you? The first time you caught a wave by yourself, not your first lesson, but the first time you caught your wave by yourself.
By myself. I was
Mhm,
so surprised because it was so easy to catch waves when someone was pushing me.
mhm,
And when I tried it by myself, I actually saw that it's hard. So when I caught my first wave by myself, I was really surprised and then I guess proud of myself.
mhm,
But
mhm.
yeah, it was, I mean, it's always fun, so it was probably fun.
And Bear, what about you? Can you describe what your feeling was like for your first wave?
Absolutely. Also in the same way, it's different, when you are used to someone kind of pushing you into it. And I think once I was frequently doing lessons slowly, I was progressing like, with less help. And it was getting to the point where I think, you guys like my coaches would give me a heads up when a wave was coming and slowly learning how to do it on my own. I was not really trusting myself that I could get the timing, and I remember the day that I did, where I saw a wave, I was actually like, "Okay, wait, maybe I can do this. I don't know, I'm not gonna expect much," and actually getting it and hopping on it, it was like I proved to myself, "Wait, I can actually do this," and it was like the most euphoric feeling ever, and I felt so accomplished. It was a beautiful feeling.
So you kind of touched on this a little bit, Bea, that you have I'm actually both of you that you it was more difficult than you thought because you had people assisting you and pushing you into waves, and then all of us now you're going for your own wave, and instructors, coaches, mentors, whoever they're not there anymore, or even if they are there, they're not giving you those pushes anymore. They're literally just sitting down here, go for that wave, and then I
Mhm.
may say paddle, paddle paddle, paddling, paddle, paddle, and then just wait for them to get it. But there is this sense of frustration as with the newer students. So let's start with you, Bear. How did you overcome, or what kept you going? Because I can imagine that sense of frustration got pretty high at certain points.
100%. I think you really do have to learn how to trust yourself and be in tune not just with like your body, but also genuinely like the ocean, right? And learn how to have that patience and kind of clock in that time and consistency on learning how to read different waves and knowing your surrounding and getting used to having someone who has that experience and can see the different wave patterns and like know the intensity and the speed and how the wave usually is going to end up when you are kind of used to that opinion telling you what to do and suddenly you just don't and you know you have to completely make that call on your own. It is frustrating. It's so like that is such a huge stepping stone in learning how to surf and it's frustrating when you realize that, but once you kind of slow things down and accept that I do have a lot to learn and ways are always going to be different. There's not going to be one identical to it. And slowly learn to just trust yourself and it's part of the process. It kind of becomes easier and just, you're going to fall, you're going to take hits, you're going to wipe out, and that's okay. But it's part of the process, and just know that you're listening to your body and the ocean and eventually it starts happening naturally. So that's kind of what helped me realize on my process. So, yeah.
Okay, great. And Berna, what about you? Did you sense any frustration? Did you have any feelings of frustration, or was it just like, okay, I got this, I can charge, or were you at the point where like, I'm done with this, I don't want to deal with this anymore? Why did I think I'm going to start surfing? And then you just slowly but surely picked up.
I wasn't really frustrated because I didn't know how to read the waves. So I was pedaling for everything
Mm,
and I had no idea. I was like, oh, I can't catch it, but I didn't know why. So it made me not frustrated, but I guess curious about what I was doing wrong.
mhm,
And
mhm.
then it started making sense in a while. Then I started catching waves.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
I mean, even if it's frustrating, once you catch a wave, it worth it. Like all that waiting, everything. You're like, okay, before it was annoying, but this is fun. I want to do
Mhm.
it again.
yeah, definitely. I'm drawing a blank on the movie right now. Oh, it's not something about Mary, but I'm really drawing a blank on the movie right name of the movie right now. But there's this one scene in particular when Paul Rudd is teaching this guy how to surf, and he tells him, "You're doing too much. You're doing too much. Pop up. No, that's not it. You're doing too much. Pop up. You're doing too
Yeah,
much. No, you're still
yeah.
doing too much. Pop up. Okay, now you're not just doing it. You're just not doing anything. Just pop up. Just pop up." And I think Berna, what you said kind of lends
Mhm,
to that you were paddling for everything, and you're just doing so
mhm,
much but you ended up catching nothing. And it wasn't until you actually slowed down and listened to yourself and listened to your board and listened to the ocean and everything else, that's when you actually started to really get into the waves and observe what you could get and what were real waves, not just ripples, and you were going for them. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, both of you. um, so along the lines of frustration, one thing with surfing is that surfing is a very interesting sport because it is one of the most selfish sports you can have. Because yes, you have your community, you have people who bring you out and they're like, oh, we're all going to surf together, fine. But then even in that community, you can find oh no, no, these waves are only for us, these are not your waves, you go somewhere else and find your waves. Or the one person who has been surfing there for 20 plus years, and they're like, hey, I put in my time so I can take any wave I want, and they can just go wherever they want. So how did you guys navigate basically the etiquette or learning etiquette? Because you spoke a little bit about the frustration of catching the waves, but let's speak a little bit about the etiquette. How did you navigate not just learning the etiquette, but then actually also putting it into practice? Because it's one thing to read it and for someone to tell you the truth, but it's another thing for you to actually put it into practice. So, Bernard, let's start with you. How did you work or start working with the etiquette piece and the frustration with etiquette?
I mean, to me, it's still the most frustrating thing in surfing. And I mean, I don't know. I guess I just don't trust myself that much. So if someone's even pedaling for a wave, I don't catch the wave because it scares me. But also in time, I started knowing people in Rockaways. So I know even if I drop in on someone accidentally, if I know the person, I know that the person either can get around me or can't. So I trust some people and they're like, oh, you can drop in on me. It's no big deal.
Hmm.
So I'm still being cautious, but
Yeah.
not too cautious with those people. But other than that, if I don't know the people, I'm just extremely cautious, which actually stops me from improving.
Hmm. And Bear, what about yourself?
I think I also agree and understand what Verna is talking about is especially being like so new to surfing. The second I would even if I was in like the right exact placement for it and I technically had like the right of way, if I saw someone else next to me start paddling, even if they were just, paddling to just see if they could make it or not, it for the longest time I would get frustrated because I would always have a sense of feeling like, I wasn't good enough or know enough or experienced enough to go for a wave, and whoever was next to me had more of an authority to go for it and they like deserved it more.
Hmm.
And especially being new, like, oh, I wouldn't, even if I did catch it, I wouldn't surf it as well, or, that they've been doing it longer and, deserved it more. But I think it does help also knowing people and the family that I've met through Rockaway, who are all is so encouraging that, we're all there for the same reasons, and they encourage each other. And like you said, like if you happen to accidentally drop it, it's always in good faith, like it's not intentional. But I think navigating etiquette, a good rule of thumb is, especially at like new places, is I kind of like do pull back. I kind of am trying to be aware of like, how other people's energy is, and if they're more on the aggressive side, and if they're more territorial about their ways. And if I do sense that, I kind of like keep my space. I don't think it's worth getting into any sort of debacle about it. Like I'm just trying to be out there to have fun. But for the most part, if I sense that people are kind of encouraging, and we're all there for the same reasons, then that's good. But I do like to get out there and just kind of first pull back and just see how other people are kind of treating the lineup.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's a very good point, because even like you said, our main break is, well, my main break is Rockaway. Even when I travel, though, I pretty much revert back to being a beginner, even if it's some place that I've been to multiple times. I will paddle out, sit down, wait, and like you said, Bea, get a read for the lineup and just like get test the vibe, because I've been to places I paddled out, and I think the only thing guys out there didn't do was beat their chest at me, because it's like, like, dude, calm down. Chill out. Look, I got some bananas in
Yeah.
my bag. I got some fruit. Go chill out. Get some breakfast. Calm down. It's not that serious. Um, but then, and then also one of the things which I mean, I don't even have an answer to this question. I don't have a concrete answer to this question. And I always ask people this. So, and I would like to know if you have any thoughts on this. Staying in the etiquette field, who has more of a right of way? And I don't want to say claim, because of course it's the ocean, we really don't have a claim to it, but who has more of a right of way? Someone who has been surfing a wave for, let's say, 10 to 15 years, but who does not live in that area, or someone who lives in that area but has only been surfing there for 1 to 3 years? Because and I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble. Different people have different thoughts on the matter. Um, And the reason I ask it is because, there's some days where I'm like, well, obviously it's a person, they put in their time, and, they're there. So what? They don't live there. They've been surfing there. Um, but then, other people come back and say, yes, but that person comes, they surf, and then they leave. The person who actually lives there is living in the community and giving stuff back to the community. So it can be a little bit of a gray area. So again, not trying to get anyone in trouble. If you have no thoughts, or if you want to plead the fifth, feel free. But if you have any thoughts on the matter, feel free to jump in and wait. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to think it through.
It's a tough one. That's really tough because it could, like, I feel like there's so many different factors that could play into it on like who technically has a right of way. Because how I see it is like, it's just because someone isn't like, you know, exactly like a resident in that like area doesn't mean that a wave that they've been going to, or a break for like over a decade, isn't like a home to them. Just because someone who happens to like live
Mhm.
within that area suddenly, so like that's really tough.
Mhm.
That's a really tough one. But and also the aspect of like, oh, if they're giving back, or if they just like have been going there and then they leave, versus someone who's newer and is kind of like giving that effort. That's, I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to upset anyone.
Berna, any thoughts on the matter?
I mean, yeah, it's a tough one, but I feel like if you've been traveling for 10 years just to surf the same wave, then I respect that too.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So it kind of makes you a part of the community.
Yes, good point. Good point.
Mhm.
It's a part, whether you want to be or not, you are part of the community.
Yeah.
If you, a friend of mine likes to say, if you got a parking ticket in that community, you're part of the community at some point.
Yes.
So, but no, that's a good point. Yeah, so it really is a thing, and I think especially with newer surfers, one of the things that they see is that they may it's almost like an endless loop. So you'll have someone come out, they come out, they're like, okay, they know there's supposed to be this thing called etiquette. I'm supposed to wait, there's supposed to be a lineup. We sit down, we wait, we take turns. And then they
Mhm.
see this one person paddle out, and the person goes straight to the peak. Person turns around,
Mm,
catches a wave, and then comes back. And then
mm,
then turns around, goes straight back to the peak. So as a newer surfer, it really is, it's not their fault that they sit down and think, oh, this is how we do it here. This is how it's supposed to be done.
mhm,
But then when
mhm.
they try to do it, someone else goes, what are you doing? You're supposed to wait your turn. Like, well, this guy, well, yeah, he's been surfing here for 20 years. How am I supposed to know he's been surfing here for 20 years? He's not, I don't have his wallet. I don't know where he lives. So it can get a little confusing. So I definitely appreciate and understand the frustration when it comes to with etiquette with surfing. So let's talk a little bit then about not just the frustration with etiquette, but if it at all it exists, your feelings of being not just surfers, but female surfers as well. Because again, like I said, surfing is pretty much a selfish sport, but it is also for the majority, at least in the United States. And I'm saying the not United States, not North America, just the United States, and parts of Canada, England, Portugal, blah 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 blah. It is mainly a white cis male sport. So yes, there are surfers of color in the water, and yes, there are surfers that identify as being women in the water as well. Um, but even so, they still the representation isn't as big as it is with one where you have cis white males in the water. So now here the two of you are not just surfers of color, but also female surfers of color. So what then, if anything, if you experience any experiences you've had in the water, good or bad, where you feel that your gender and or ethnicity may have come? Berna, let's start with you.
I mean, I didn't have a bad experience, but also like I hate surfing with men. If it's I mean, if it's just men surfing out there, it could get annoying because they are not maybe selfish. Like they don't want you to catch any waves. They don't let you catch waves. And when I was in California last year, I think. I was in San Diego. There was this guy who was always at the peak. He didn't let me catch any waves, and I actually traveled there just to surf there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So after a few hours, I was like, okay, like it's my turn at
Hmm.
some point. I have to start catching waves. And he got so mad at me for trying to catch a wave, and he caught all the waves
Right.
there.
Right.
I think women don't do that.
Yeah.
Because we want, like, it makes us happy to see each other surfing,
Hmm.
having fun. And we don't take it, I mean, we take it seriously, but not that seriously. We're
Hmm.
not like, I own the ocean.
Right.
We like sharing. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a different experience surfing with women.
Yeah. With men, the Y chromosome energy is in the water, and it is definitely there. So,
Yeah.
Bea, what about you?
Mhm. So luckily, I haven't had a scenario like that happen directly, like to me.
Hmm.
But even in the beginning, like I remember the first time I like paddled out, and it wasn't like with a school anymore, and I wasn't taking classes, and I was really doing it like on my own. I could already sense that type of energy of, oh, why is this girl in the water? Like, is she actually going to be in the lineup? It's something I definitely sensed, and I don't think I would have gotten this far surfing if it wasn't for the women that I've met so early on, in, I guess, my surfing journey, and I'm so grateful for that because, in relation to that type of, experience and that kind of, like, male-dominating environment, I mentioned before, I grew up, skateboarding in Texas, but I didn't really progress far or really try to improve at it because all of the skate parks, especially in Texas, are predominantly white, cis males. And being a young little Filipino girl, I never had the courage to even try to learn, knowing that, as a beginner, you're going to fall, make mistakes. But I was always so afraid of being, the odd one out. And especially with like boys who are like taller than me and, more into it and aggressive. And I always just strayed away from it and never got the chance to really improve. And, being out there for the first time and getting that same sense, um, really made me back away. I remember, like, the first time really being in that lineup alone, I honestly didn't go for much, but it wasn't until, you luckily introduced me to so many amazing, amazing, welcoming women and just people who are so encouraging, and if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have gone this far, unfortunate to say, but it really does make a difference, and I'm so eternally great for that because it has, helped me get past that fear of feeling like I don't belong, in that sort of, dominating community that is known to be men, specifically white men,
Yeah.
so I am grateful.
Yeah. No, surfing is definitely one of those sports. I think I've lost track of who I've said this story to. So for our listeners, if I'm repeating myself, my apologies. I remember one of my most favorite surf sessions, actually not my favorite, and I usually do dawn patrol, so I was out there at like 5:15 in the morning. The sun was just starting to come up. Yes, 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 I know sharks, blah 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 blah. But I was out there surfing early in the morning, and then I was joined by one other person, and then two other people joined me, and then like I think it was like another three, and then another two came down, and we were all just surfing and sharing waves, and the sun was coming up, and it was just like a really, really, really chill morning. So I left the water, I waved goodbye, you know, took my board, walked up on the sand, turned around to just look at the ocean one more time, and that's when it hit me that I was the only Y chromosome in the water. I was everyone else. Everyone else were. It was all other women I was surfing with, and I actually made a post about it, thanking them to let me, help let me share their space with them. Because it really was no, don't get me wrong, I love surfing with my guys, I just love surfing around with people on a whole, but it's a different vibe, sometimes you get, I mean,
It is different,
when
it
Yeah.
it's
is
mixed,
different.
it's a different vibe. When it's just guys, it's a different vibes. When it's just women, it's a different
Yeah,
vibes. When it's one person, it's a different vibe. So
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
different vibes. But just being able to experience them all, as long as they're good, I'm 100% appreciative of it. Um, and I think that, I've heard it a lot. I've never experienced it, of course, being male, but I've heard from a lot of my female friends that, you know, they, when they go out in the water, the energy that they have there is something that's very strong. And like, okay, I don't want to surf there because of the energy I feel in the water.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just to touch on that, I will say, like, as a beginner surfer in general, like, it has taught me how powerful it is. Like, if you do see another woman in the water, like, even just a simple gesture as like, hey, I see you. Like, regardless if you're a beginner or you've been doing this for years, it makes a difference. Like, kind of giving that notion of like, "Hey, we're here and we both belong here as much as the other men, in the water." And something so simple as just like having that notion and saying hi makes a difference, especially to a beginner like me,
Yeah.
myself, where it makes such an effect. I think is just awesome, and everyone should do it. So yeah.
I didn't ask this, but I'm going to ask it now. Berna, where was your first surf session? The first place you paddled out to surf, where was it?
Rockaway.
Rockaway?
I think it was, yeah, beach 92nd, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, so for those of you who don't know Rockaway that well, there are certain beaches in Rockaway that are set aside specifically for what time of the year was it?
It was beginning of summer. Like I
Okay,
was in a spring suit.
okay,
So it was probably June.
okay. So there's certain beaches in Rockaway that are set aside specifically just for surfing. Um, in the fall, once the beach is officially closed, then we can surf wherever we want. But during the summer, we can only surf on certain beaches. And the 90s, we count that's considered, well, not really uptown, but it's like mid uptownish for Rockaway. And when you're surfing in the 90s, you are surfing. You go there and you put on your suit and you paddle out. Your fins better not be on backwards. You better look the part, and you got to come and represent hard. So yeah, I mean, if you paddle for the first time paddling out in the 90s, more power to you. And Bea, what about yourself?
My very first surf lesson actually wasn't in Rockaway. It was in Montauk at Ditch Plains.
Hmm.
Um it was my birthday and I had taken just a solo trip out and I was like, I'm finally crossing this off my bucket list and to say I did it. And it was very humbling to say the least, trying to, do a lesson out there. But even then, like I didn't stand up once. I was just getting knocked over the whole time, but I enjoyed it so much. And that's when I was like, okay, I have to go back to Rockaway and actually learn how to do this. So
Okay, I'm going to blow up your spot here for a second. You said your first time you surfed was on your birthday, and it's been
yes.
almost a year.
Yes.
Okay, so do you have any plans to revisit it?
100%.
Okay.
100%. That's exactly what I'm gonna do, a full circle. And I wanna connect with like my original teacher who gave
Hmm.
me my first ever lesson
Hmm.
with like my 9 foot foamy. Um and what I think would be cool is like if I pulled up with like my new board and be like, hey, let's do a lesson and just see. I probably will still like fall over the same.
Hmm.
Like I don't know if how that surfing that break is now, but I think it would be really cool to do a full circle.
So, Berna, Bea spoke a little bit about the first time she paddled out was on a foamy, and then she's getting a new board. What's your favorite type of board to ride, or boards, plural? And you better say the right one.
Oh.
You better say the right type of board.
I like short boards.
Wrong. Wrong answer. Goodbye. Sorry, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. No, again, for the listeners, I know anyone who knows me, they associate me with this pink foamy that is all over my Instagram and all. I just like that board. For some reason, I can just take that board out and anything. But yes, just because I do not ride them that often, I can ride short boards. I just don't do it that often. But so I do appreciate a short board. So I'm sorry, Brent, I cut you off. So yes, short
I have
boards.
a pink for me too.
There we go. Foamies for the homies. So you said short boards, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Bea, yourself?
Well, so far I really only have experience with majority like longboards.
Mhm.
I want to slowly try to like work my way down and just see
Mhm.
what it would be like in my shortboard era,
Mhm.
but who knows? I could try it and say like this isn't for me, or I could be like, you know what? I do like surfing on a chip, but yeah, I'm still kind of playing around with the different sizes and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Everybody needs to have their shortboard revolution at least once in their surf career. So, Berna, you said that you are originally from Turkey.
Yes.
Have you surfed in Turkey?
Yes, I have. So, yeah, surfing is new in Turkey. I didn't know you could surf, then I saw it on Instagram. And I went to Turkey, like landed, went to bed, slept, woke up at 6 a.m. and went to my parents and I was like, I'm gonna go surfing. My mom got so mad at me. She was like, this is your first day. We didn't even have breakfast together and you're trying to go surfing. And that spot was so far. It was a 2 hour drive. I didn't know anyone. I didn't even know if they had boards, but I just went there and they saw me pedaling, just pedaling. And it was, I think, 3 years ago. So it was really new. They saw me pedaling. They were so impressed. They were like, wow, you're so good at surfing. And
Like rock away, baby.
then they saw me standing up on the board doing nothing because it's a hard wave to catch too. It looks big, but it's really soft, like really soft. So you can't really do anything on it. So I was just going not straight. I was at an angle, but I wasn't really doing anything, but they were so impressed. They're like, there are gonna be competitions in September. You have to join. You're gonna win. You can win the national team. I actually wanted to do it, but then I came back and
Nice.
work and life, so I couldn't go back.
Nice. So for those of you who are listening, so our listeners again, so if you never thought about surfing in Turkey, I'm not going to have you say the spot that you went to on the podcast. We're not trying to blow up anybody's secret spots. But if you hit up Berna, I'm sure you guys can work something out, and she can take a tour down there and set up something. So
Yeah.
we can figure it out. And Bea, so you're originally from Texas. And you know where I'm going with this one. But then you're also from the
Mhm.
Philippines. So let's touch on the Philippines
Yeah.
first before we all invite ourselves over to the Waco pool. So let's touch on the Philippines first. Have you ever surfed in the Philippines?
Not yet. But my family were planning a trip the beginning of next year, and
Mhm.
now that surfing has been introduced and taken over my life completely. I straight up told my mom, as we're trying to kind of build an itinerary, I was like, listen, the front of the end of this trip, we're saying hi to everyone we need to, having our dinners with the family, doing it all. But the second half, the second I make it out, to the surf capital, which is Siargao, where everyone goes, I am not planning anything because I don't know how long I'm gonna be there, but you guys are, more than welcome to join. But I had to give her a full disclaimer, like, make sure everything you need me to do, we're doing at the beginning, because the second half, I will just be surfing until I can't surf anymore. So I'm very, very excited to do that next year. So we'll see.
Yeah, you're gonna see Berna and Nigel and myself just sitting on the beach waiting for you. Like, what took you so long? Let's go, let's go.
Yeah, great. She's been gone for like a
Like,
year. What happened
what?
there?
And what about? And of course, we know Texas has the wave pool.
Yeah, I have not been there yet. Actually, in December, I was in Texas visiting my family for the holidays. And of course, I checked like a maniac. I was like, "Ugh, if I could surf here," but of course, they weren't open in
Mhm.
December in Texas. But I've been keeping an eye on it. So next time I'm there during the summer, absolutely, I'm driving out to Waco and paying a visit.
I'm taking that as an invite. What about you, Berna? I think she just invited us
Oh,
to go to the wave
absolutely. We're
pool.
all going. We're
I
all
think I'm
going.
taking that as an
100%.
invite. I think she just invited us to go to the wave pool
Let's
to go
go.
stay by her. So it's
Yes.
again funny. So a friend of mine he lives in Dallas, and I was speaking to him 2 weeks ago, and our conversation went somewhere along the lines of Dallas. Do you still live there? He said yes. I said okay. Are there any vegan spots out in Dallas? He goes, I'm sure I can find some. Are you coming? I was like, not to see you. I'm not coming to see you, dude. I just need to be able to drive to Waco. That's my only purpose of going. So, um, but yeah, he laughed and he's a good guy. So, what do you think then? As you so you've been so uh, Brenner, you've been surfing for about 5 years. Bear, you're coming up on a year, and I'll be very interested in knowing what do you feel surfing has given to you. What changes have you seen in your life since you started surfing that you feel like, this is because of my surfing? This is because of my wave riding. They are thinking, folks. This is not dead air. They are actually thinking. I mean, I can tell you for myself right now. One of the things is I have become, believe it or not, um, I have become a lot more extroverted. Many people,
Mm.
it's hard for people to believe, but I actually am a bit of an introvert. And I really did not like being around people. I was not comfortable in crowds. I would just, I would go someplace, they're there, I mean, I didn't have a problem with myself being seen, but I'm definitely not much of an extrovert. And, standing up, I had no problem public speaking, but I did not go looking to do it. Stand up in front of people and speaking, not at all, not a thing for me. And so I think because of surfing, you can't help but be around people. And when people are calling you and hooting you into waves and talking to you and trying to high five you if you got that wave and you're trying to change in the parking lot out of a wetsuit and some guy stand up there trying to talk to you, and like, okay, you can't help but have a conversation. So that's one thing that surfing actually gave back. It showed me how to be a little bit more of an extrovert, and as well also to have a little bit more patience. So I'll put that in there, and then you can jump in now.
I mean, I've become a morning person and I hate waking up early and I had
Yes.
to. So even now, I still hate waking up early, but I'm training myself. So even though I don't go surfing, I still try to wake up early. So, because I don't want to lose that habit.
hmm hmm Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah, I love
surfers are,
sleeping in, but I had to.
yeah, there's nothing like a dawn patrol. Oh my God. You wake up in the
Yeah.
morning, you get down to the beach, and the sun is just coming up. And it is one of my favorite sessions it was July 4th weekend. And I got down to the beach and I paddled out, and there was nobody on the beach. And the waves were just, it was like, what, 3 feet, just so glassy. Actually, it was
Mm,
past glassy. It was
mm.
almost oily. So that's the best way I can describe it. And I remember thinking to myself, where is everybody? What's going on? Is something happened? Why am I the only one out here? What's going on? And I surfed for like, what, 3 hours. And then people started to come. And I remember speaking to my one friend, Eric, and I asked him, like, dude, what happened? He says to me, he's like, yo, it's 4th of July. Everybody was drinking the night before. They slept in. So early morning dawn patrol sessions, yeah, amazing. Bea,
Mm.
what about you? What something that you think surfing has given you?
I think especially in New York City, it's kind of the perfect balance that's needed. And the timing that surfing was introduced, I think, was very key in my life. And adjusting to living somewhere like New York where everything is fast paced and just, everything's on the go. And I feel like being in that environment where it can be very competitive and, you want to do more and push yourself, that having surfing slow things down where you have to do something as simple as like focusing on your breathing and being in tune with yourself just kind of makes you appreciate such simple things, and it's so easy to just get caught up and wrapped up in the everyday hustle and bustle of just life, especially in a place like New York City. I know we've, talked about Kwame, like that New York state of mind, that Empire state of mind, right? But even just paddling out there is an accomplishment, and getting to be away from society for a second, whether it's online or just kind of out there, I'm grateful that that surfing gives me that space and that environment to just be with myself and with nature and the ocean. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to have, regardless if I'm, shredding on waves, like genuinely just sitting out there. I think it's such a beautiful gift to have. So
Yeah, very well said.
grateful.
Well said. I don't know if either of you recall, or if our listeners recall, when the Apple Watch first came out, or like the second generation,
Mm,
there was this commercial
mm.
where this guy who was out, he was surfing, and he had a watch on his hand, and he looked at it, and he was getting the call, and he said, "Oh, never lose the connection." And I was like, "You did not talk to any surfers about that." Because when we're
No,
surfing, the
yeah.
last thing we want to do is get a call from work.
Yeah.
It's not
Exactly.
real.
It's yeah. Yeah,
At,
yeah.
at some point, though, I wanted to get an Apple Watch because I was surfing when I was supposed to be working, but I was so nervous about it, so I wanted to see my emails to see if there was something urgent. But then I was like, I'm not gonna respond to it, so whatever. I don't need an Apple Watch.
I think we've all been there at some point on that, because I've definitely sent text messages when I used to wear an Apple Watch. I sent a text message from the lineup, um, and actually no, I can't say this story. I don't work at that job anymore. So there was one time I was out surfing, and I told them I had a dentist appointment. I sent a text message into my boss from the lineup saying I had a dental appointment, so I couldn't come in. It's just the waves were just too good. It was just way too
Yeah.
good that day, so I just couldn't leave. And then,
Mm.
funny story is, when I came back to work the next day, he looks at me and he goes, "How's your tooth?" So I was like, "Oh, it's feeling much better." He's like, "Really?" Okay. So he pulls out his phone, he pulls up something, he pulls up Surfline, shows me a picture, zooms in, and he says, "Isn't that you?" I'm like, you can't tell. Come on, that's. He said, yeah, but you
Be
always. So that could be
anyone.
anyone.
No.
He says to me, but yeah, but you always said you always wear this hat. I was like, oh, come on, everybody wears a hat. Why were you watching Surfline anyway? I made the mistake of showing it to him one time, and every now and again he goes to it. I'm like, oh god, it wasn't me, but
Wait, were you surfing on your pink foamy that day?
no, 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 no. This
Okay.
was pre Pink Foamy. This was
Okay,
pre Pink
because
Foamy.
that's a huge giveaway. That's on
Yeah.
you. If you took your pink foamy on
No,
there,
no,
he
no,
got
no,
you.
no, no, no. It's not me. Okay, good. So speaking about working, Berna, you have been able to take your love of surfing and apply it to a business that you run right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I started this brand called I Love That For You. So I'm an architect and I love designing. And in my job, I don't get to design a lot because architecture is not what people imagine, really. Like, you don't really design. But yeah, like I'm good at drawing. I love designing. So I started drawing. I also love tea. So I started drawing people drinking tea on surfboards and stuff like that. And I didn't think it was going to be a business, but then I was like, oh, this is actually cool. Like, this can turn into something, and I can actually have a job that I like. So then I started the brand. It's really small now, but yeah, of course, the dream is it being my only job and
Hmm.
quitting architecture so I have more time to surf and focus on what I love doing.
Oh, that's great. So, and the name of the brand again is
It's I Love That For You
okay.
with letter U.
Letter U. So I love that
Yeah.
for letter U. So again, if you're listening, I actually own two of the t-shirts that you made, and so if you're listening right now, then definitely check it out. It's on. You have it on Instagram, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The
And what's
Instagram is I dot love that for you.
okay?
Letter U.
All right. We'll put it all. We'll put everything in the show notes. So definitely, and this is not a shameless plug. The clothing actually it is pretty cool. I do like it a lot.
Thank
Um,
you.
And Bea, I know that. I mean, I know this because I was there. That can you speak a little bit about the conference, the International Surf Therapy Conference? What was your? Because I don't think we've ever talked about it to get your impression of what it was. Being in a room full of academic surfers just talking about surf therapy. I know it was a lot of work heading down to Puerto Rico to do that. So hard. So can you speak a little bit about that? What your impression was?
Absolutely. Oh, it was so amazing and eye-opening. And I'm not going to lie, at the beginning, I didn't know what to expect when you invited me, Kwame. I getting there on our first day and being at the conference and being around people who have such established like organization and nonprofits was um so motivating and eye-opening, seeing, how far people can take it with surfing, not even just as a hobby, but really making and establishing such amazing organizations that are meaningful and giving back to communities and that have just a great purpose behind it. Was just so good to be surrounded by, and I wasn't expecting it at all, being there. So for a while, I at the very, very beginning, I was like, "Oh, I don't know why I'm here. I don't have an organization. I just learned how to pop up, like, a month ago. Like, what is little old me gonna contribute to this?" But it definitely did open my mind on kind of connecting, two and two of something that I love and a hobby that makes me feel good and, that just helps me escape from so much stress and just the world and life itself sometimes just being too much, but also really making something that is giving to others and communities and, really bringing people together, I think just was so motivating and insightful, and hearing from people who are just so like well made for themselves and who are also academics and are taking their careers that they made for themselves and eventually kind of, using it for something like surfing was just very, very eye-opening. And, it was a lot, but in the best way ever. And I think kind of being exposed to that early on was like, okay, I don't just like love this as a hobby, but really like striving to execute this in like any way that I can in my personal life is great. So I'm grateful that I got
Yeah.
to see that.
Surfer lifestyle is definitely a thing. Definitely is.
Yeah.
Um, how are we doing on time? Okay, yep, actually we're doing very well. Great, excellent. So, what are there any surfers that past, present, male or female, that you think have had a big impact in your life, or that you would like, are you trying to emulate? Not too much, because you should really surf like yourself, not surf like anyone else. But at the same time, just the way they, I would say, the way they go through life, or what you see them doing when they're not in the water and in the water, that you are trying to like, oh, this is what I'm going to base my surf life on. Is anyone like that you can think of? Male or female, doesn't matter, past or present. Berna, let's start with you.
So she's more a skateboarder, but I love Sky Brown
Oh, I
because
love Sky Brown.
Sky Brown's, yeah, she recently got into surfing professionally, but she's
Mm-hmm.
so good. But yeah, I love watching her video at the top of Tony Hawk's mega ramp.
Mm,
Looking down, she's like maybe 9, and
yeah.
that ramp is huge. And at first she's scared, and then she's like, "You got this, guy," and she just goes for it. So whenever I'm scared of a wave, or whenever I'm scared at a skate park, I'm like, my inner Sky Brown, and then I think to myself, "You got this, Berna." Then I try going for it.
Yeah, definitely. So again, if you're listening, those of you who are listening, you should definitely check out Sky Brown. A little bit more story. But for the details of that story, she actually fell on that ramp at one point in her career, and she either broke
Yeah.
her shoulder or broke her clavicle or something, and then went back and did it again. And even the fall, she fell and she got on. She's just like, I mean, just watching it, it's like, oh my God. And then going back and then doing it again afterwards, it's like, yeah, that takes guts. It's so definitely, I agree with you 100%. Sky Brown and her brother Ocean, he cracks me up. I'm sorry,
Oh yeah.
he cracks me up every time I see him. He's like the quintessential little brother, so he just cracks me up all the time. So speaking as a little brother, I can relate. Yeah, definitely Sky Brown. Anyone else?
I love Erin Brooks too, because
Mm-hmm.
she surfs huge waves,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and she's just a great surfer, and she's so young too, and she does it like it's so easy, effortless. So
Okay, excellent.
yeah, I like her too.
Excellent. And Beah, what about yourself?
Of course, speaking from like personal inner circle, of course, you, Kwame, you've taught me so much about not just like surfing, but like the ways of going about life and, how to like just apply that surfing lifestyle to everything else.
Yeah, if you're listening to
So
me,
that's
you're in
something
trouble.
that's very.
So if you, no, I'm joking. Thank you.
True, true. But, for the most part, it's very admirable and, just how you are able to balance so much in your life, but, are usually, very pure in contributing, just as much as you can. And I think that's an amazing thing to look up to. But someone that I also look up to is Elaine Abinal. She is a Filipino surfer and she owns Surfista in
Mm-hmm.
Siargao. And essentially, it's a surf camp for women and children and just teaching them, about surfing and how amazing it is, but also spreading awareness about how beautiful the Philippines is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something I would strive to try to contribute to one day.
Nice. Beautiful. Okay. So we are getting to the point with the fast fire questions, where I'm just going to ask you guys just like questions and answer them as quickly as you can. And then afterwards, we're going to do something new, which I'm just added into the podcast. Gonna come as a surprise to our listeners, and then give you the chance to ask me any questions, and then we'll wrap up and say our goodbyes. Sound good? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
So fast fire questions. Favorite pre and post surf meal?
Free, of course, I'm gonna say grapes because last surf trip I went on was Puerto Rico with you and our friend Amanda, and we survived off of grapes for majority of the trip, and it was great. So pre-surf meal, literally just hand me a handful of grapes and I'm good. I could surf for 5 hours and be fine. Post, though, usually in Rockaway, go to Claudette's and get a good bowl of all sorts of veggies, that's usually top tier surf
Okay.
meals.
Pre is acai bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Post is anything with carbs, like a huge meal.
I see. There's always a trend. People after the post surf meal, people's like, "Oh, just give me the left side of the menu." Anything with carbs, it's good because again, one of the good things with the Apple Watch and the sports watch was one time I decided I was wanting to track to see just how many calories I burned during a surf session during our hurricane season or hurricane swell. So I was surfing for like about 4 hours that day. I went past 2,000 calories and then my watch shut off because it ran out of battery power. So
Oh my
I was like, I guess I really do need to inhale like 10 bowls of spaghetti or something. But okay. So far, your favorite place to surf. And if you don't want to, you don't necessarily have to give the specific spot if you don't want to. If it's a secret spot, you can give the country, or you can, if it's a famous spot, you can just name the spot if you want, whichever. Oh, and I'm adding the wave pool into there.
I'm in between two.
I'm sorry?
I'm in between two spots.
Okay. Well, what are they?
So Barbados
Mm-hmm.
and Nicaragua.
Mm.
The name of the beach is Maderas in Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
And Barbados, I don't even know the name of the beach, secret spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No worries. No
But
worries.
yeah.
I do have I actually have a lot of friends in Barbados, and they always telling me I need to come down, and I really need to get myself over there.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm from the Caribbean, and one thing about I cannot justify going to Barbados and not stopping off to see my family in another island. They would never forgive me. So it has to be like a long trip. I can't just go, I was in Barbados. Oops, sorry, I didn't come see you, and it's one island over. So they'll never forgive me for that. And Beah.
Of course, Aguadilla, Puerto
Aguadilla.
Rico. I don't know if I should name the exact break
Okay, don't worry about
there,
it. Nope,
but
don't have
I'm
to.
gonna say,
That spot.
I'm gonna say, you're gonna know, Kwame, that spot. I
That
ate
spot.
hot dogs there afterwards. Actually, maybe I go back. That is the best post-surf meal is just a handful of hot dogs because that got me. That was like the best surfing day I've ever experienced. Having a hot dog handed right after surfing like 5 hours straight was like heaven. So
Nothing like Dawn Patrol, bunch of grapes, a sea urchin in your toe, and 5 hours of surfing, and then some hot dogs. Okay, I got you.
and then a hot dog. Like, are you kidding me? Like, amazing.
Your life is good. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, what more could I ask for?
No, I'm there with you. I'm there with you. And okay, so what would you say? Which would you rather? Even though I think I may know the answer, which would you rather? Which would you rather? Cold surfing, but the waves are anywhere between, I would say, let's say 4 to 6, or warm water surfing and it's 1 to 3 for the rest of your life if you had to pick.
Oh.
Rest of your life is crazy,
Yeah, but
I confidently know my answer.
Go ahead.
Warm, 100%,
Hmm.
even if it's like 1 to 3, just
Okay.
because 'cause I'm at a point now where I'm a pretty low maintenance surfer. If I'm out there, I'm happy. I need my sun,
Hmm.
that's enough for me. But yeah, I can't do cold. Of course I love catching great waves, but 100% I need that sun. So
Okay.
yeah.
And Berna?
yeah, if it's for the rest of my life, like warm water.
Warm water. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
But now let's put a small twist on that. So let's say then it's cold, but perfect waves. I mean, they are perfect every single time. But it's warm, but it's blowing onshore. So it's a little choppy. It's a little every now and then. It's not as good as it could be. So it's not
Yeah,
horrible, but it's definitely not the. Eh, which one?
cold.
Cold.
Yeah, then cold. Then I'm gonna switch and also say cold. Yeah,
Cold.
because if it's
Okay.
perfect waves and I'm actually like catching,
Yeah.
that's different. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to. As you, you and I said, like, I want to be surfing and not surviving.
Okay. Great. And final question is, what advice, if any, would you give to someone, let's say, who's thinking about, oh, I want to start surfing, and I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Is this even worth it? What advice would you give them, in their journey to start surfing, and when they inevitably get to that point when they start to get frustrated? Because everyone can
I mean, the only advice is, I guess, just do it.
just do it.
Find a friend to do it
Hmm.
with, maybe, because I started with a friend of mine.
Hmm.
And even though we weren't really catching anyways, we were having fun together. And I'm so scared of drowning too. So to me, it's good to have someone with me if I'm a beginner or trying it for the first time.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I think if you have a friend with you, it's not really frustrating, even if you can't catch anything, because it's just fun to be with a friend.
Yeah, have a surf buddy.
Yeah.
And Bea, what advice would you give to someone
um,
who gets to that point where they may get frustrated as they're trying to get over that hump?
I would say, patience is key, and to really evaluate like what your own relationship is with surfing. I think it's easy to get frustrated when you see so many people who have been doing it for years and they're just easily just catching waves like they're like they could do it in their sleep, or especially online with social media. Once I started surfing, it took over like my whole For You page and my algorithm. And
Mhm.
I was constantly seeing content of people just doing airs and completely
Yeah.
just like charging. And so it's being, so exposed to that as a beginner, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and do that. And that's clearly not reality. It can be frustrating, but I think it is important to just slow things down and be okay with your journey, that everyone's timing's different, but just to prioritize like what your relationship and what your journey is and where you're at, and to appreciate it and not compare yourself to others, or just be in it for the right reasons, and value what surfing already has given you, instead of thinking about what isn't going right. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody's body and everybody's body is different. So just take your time
That
and
makes
as you
sense.
go. Excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to do something a little different. Um, so for those of you listening, I went on to, in one of my times of being bored, which I really doesn't happen that much, but every now and again I get it. I just decided to go into Google, and I just typed in, why are surfers so, and I just looked at the drop down. And what drops down is the top answers, the top questions that people have typed into Google about surfers. So I would like each of you ladies to pick a number, and then based on the number, I'm gonna use that and then ask the question, and you're gonna answer that question. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Beah, start with you. Pick a number between 1 and 7.
Ooh, I'll go with 6.
Okay, 6. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, and Berna, pick a number between 1 and 7. That's not 6.
5.
5. Okay. Well, it's kind of like the same question, but okay. So,
I can change.
no. We'll two. We could probably answer the question at the same time. So the question number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is why are surfers so skinny? And question number 6 is why are surfers so ripped?
Oh, that is
Okay.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna let's combine that question then. So let's just I don't like calling people skinny. Let's say why are surfers so ripped? I don't know why people are googling that, but whatever. Okay. Any thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, because it's a great workout.
There you go. It is an amazing workout. Like I said, I burnt off over 2,000 calories just surfing alone.
Yeah.
You know.
And I
Uh,
will say, like, once I started surfing, it kind of encouraged me to like condition outside more
mhm.
because I don't have any upper body strength, and learning how to paddle out was very humbling. And I was like, okay, I gotta kind of like work on this, just my upper body strength and also like my stamina. And so I could get better at surfing. So I think like overall it kind of does motivate you just to be on top of fitness and health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's great. There's definitely that is true. Let's do one more. So let me see. Oh, so I changed it to from why are surfers to why do surfers, and that brought up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so Brent, let's start with you. Pick a number between 1 and 9.
1.
Number 1. And Bea, pick a number between 2 and 9.
I'll do 4.
4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. I'll be very interested to hear the answer to this one. Berna, number 1. Why do surfers wear wetsuits?
Because the water can be cold.
Mm-hmm. Especially in the Northeast. Yeah, we pretty much have a whole
Also,
wardrobe of.
even if it's warm, I still wear wetsuits because I'm scared of my board hitting my body.
Yeah, that is a good point. A lot of times
Yeah.
when you go somewhere warm after wearing a wetsuit for a while, you tend to get like rib bruises because you had that padding on your wetsuit that you just didn't realize you
Yeah.
had as you were paddling. So yeah, definitely. And Bea, okay, I need to hear this. The internet wants to know, question number 4, why do surfers wear Uggs?
That is interesting.
I don't wear
I
Uggs,
would
so
say I get it though. I haven't worn Uggs directly after surfing, but I understand. I know one of our friends does. I've seen them in Uggs frequently. And I've seen a lot of them. I would say after being out there and you kind of start to like raisin a little bit and you're at the point where you're peeling off your wetsuit and you just want to be in something so cozy. I feel like Uggs just
Uggs
I
is the
guess
move.
your feet are just like that warm, needed hug.
Okay.
You want to be, you just, after surfing, it's like you're just craving that post meal, but you're also just craving to be in something so warm and cozy. And I guess Uggs just do it.
Okay, there you have it. This is what if you want to be a surfer or look like a surfer, that's what you need to get. So I love that for you merch from Berna, some Uggs
Yes.
and a wetsuit, and you got it.
Yes.
And that's what we have. Okay. All right. So last piece of the podcast is, and if you don't, again, no pressure. Do you have any questions that you think the general public would like to ask of us? Or by us, I'm referring to the WeSurf podcast about what we do, how we do it, why we do it, or just in general about surfing that you think we might be able to answer. Whose cat
Oh,
is
it's
that?
my cat.
Oh, I love cats.
He wants to join.
Feel free. Come in.
Actually, I do have a question.
Please.
Is there anyone for the We Surf podcast that's like dream like that you like interviewer like
Jerry
that
Lopez.
you would want to have on?
Jerry Lopez.
Jerry Lopez?
Jerry Lopez.
Mhm.
No.
Didn't even have to
That's
think
a good
about
one,
that.
yeah.
Jerry Lopez. Jerry Lopez. Jerry Lopez.
Yeah,
Jerry Lopez. If
okay.
I was not too old, I would try to get Jerry Lopez to adopt me at this point. No, I mean there are a list of people that I would love to have on the show, both local and not local to Rockaway. Of course, like I said, Jerry Lopez. There are a lot of surfers from out in California. Some of them work with the Black Surfers Collective. Then we also have surfers from as far as Africa. I know, and Ghana. I'd love to have Mikey February on the podcast as well. There's just so many others. Salema Masakala. I'd love to have him on the podcast. And even local, then even though I know I really can just run down the street, stick a microphone under his mouth and say, let's talk. Aiden from Larabea Collective and Warren from Larabea Collective. It's just that we're just like ships passing in the night. It just has not been working out. So, hopefully, we can keep it going and eventually get these folks on here as well. I know there are some guests I'd like to bring back again. Farmi was our first guest. I would actually like to have her back on the podcast again because I feel like she's done so much between the first time we interviewed her and now that there's more to tell. But yeah, I would thank you. There's a lot of other people. So if anyone knows how to get any of these people to help us out to get them on the podcast, please let us know. It will be amazing to get them on. That's yeah. But I am a huge Jerry Lopez fan. That's why I went straight to that one.
Yeah.
That's why I went straight to that without even thinking. So that's usually my answer. That's usually my answer to everything. When did Columbus sail? Jerry Lopez. Just like, yeah.
Awesome.
Any other questions? Yeah. Okay. Going
No.
once, going twice. Whew, got off easy. Okay, great. All right. Well, Beah and Berna, thank you again. Thank you so much for agreeing to join the podcast. And I'm going to let the audience in on a little secret. This is actually our second time to record this. We recorded this back in, I believe it was late January, early February, sometime around there. But
Yeah.
because of technical difficulties, it just did not, there were like 4 seconds of interview of the podcast interview on the memory card, so it just didn't work out. So ladies, thank you so much again for agreeing to do this, and thank you as always for your time. I always appreciate all of our guests because I know you're taking time out of your schedules, out of your busy schedules to be with us. So thank you so much, and hope to see you guys in the water soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kwame, for having us.
All right. Take care.